book is a really important opportunity, a really valuable opportunity for them to press the reset button and be like, this is who we are. We are, XYZ, whatever they want to be.
In a piece for the Daily Beast that you said, I think a friend or a source said that, this book will be a whitewash if he doesn't include those wild years and those stories. And I tend to agree, because I don't know what else, like you said, if he's not going to spill all the details about the royal family, if he's not going to talk about his partying years, what are we really going to talk about that's going to engage the reader?
I think that's the thing. And I think that, that it's also an incredible opportunity for Harry to deal with some of those things that are outstanding. And I'm thinking specifically of the Nazi uniform, Now, to be fair to Harry, he was 20 years old at the time, but that only goes so far. It was an unbelievably stupid thing to do. There's never been a real apology for it. There was a sort of mealy-mouthed statement at the time, I'm terribly sorry. And I think he's spoken about it, in passing over the years. But I feel like incidents like that need to be really excavated. And, I wonder whether, and it's not to say that it would be an excuse to say, I was drunk then and I was irresponsible and so I did that. But I think to sort of acknowledge the responsibility of what was actually going on in his life and that kind of thing, I think would be just absolutely fascinating. But yeah, his old mates, who I have to say, none of them have really seen much of him in the last couple of years, do definitely feel like, is it going to just be like absolutely nothing about it? Is it just going to be a complete whitewash, or is he going to go into it, And I think there's a bit of nervousness amongst some of them as well that, it's going to lift the lid on the whole scene, because it was quite a sort of hedonistic scene back then, and it in a sort of 2004 to about 2010 is probably the peak of it, where it was like London, it was like nightclubs like Mahiki and Bougie, it was people like, Guy Pelly was running a lot of the clubs. It was like, they were quite a crew and they were quite a scene and they were very, very well known. And one person I spoke to said that one of Harry's favourite tricks was to try and give his security the slip. I don't know why, but he wanted to give his security the slip because his security, of course, are police officers, right? So you can imagine there might be occasions where he wouldn't necessarily want, or his friends necessarily wouldn't want police officers around watching what was going on. And so they used to order a car and then Harry would run out and jump in. And one person told me that the driver of one of these cars once looked around in astonishment as Prince Harry shoved his head forward and went, "If you see a policeman, run him over."
God, that's hysterical. That's amazing. I mean, if this book doesn't, I'm sure, people, no matter what he writes, people are going to buy it. People are going to read it. But if he doesn't deliver, is this considered a massive failure for Harry and Meghan? Because it still seems like they are trying to find their footing. They don't really know exactly kind of where they fit into this half celebrity, half royal world, it seems like. So is a lot riding on this book for him?
But I think there is and there isn't. I think that in a sense, for them, the financial element is important. They've been, as far as I can tell, they've been spending money like water on houses and security and lawsuits and God knows what else. So I think the financial element is really important. And that's not going to be an issue. This book is going to earn out in the sort of publishing parlance, But I think it is the opportunity for them to turn the page. I do feel like ultimately, and it was received differently in the UK over here to how it was in America, but I do feel that ultimately they didn't come out brilliantly out of that. They didn't land a killer punch on the royals. And, the stories were kind of conflicting about who said what, and when they said it. And so I felt that overall from that interview, they didn't come out brilliantly. And I think that people had very little sympathy for Harry pleading poverty. I thought there was a really, really odd thing for him to do. So my father cut me off. It's like, you're 35, mate. It's like, what do you mean your father cut? What, your pocket money? Are you kidding me? You said you wanted to be financially independent, you know? And so I do, and it's really complicated, as always with Harry and Meghan, two things can be true at the same time. You know, I totally believe that the royal family treated them appallingly, but I do also think that Harry particularly came across as a bit of a whinger in that interview. And I think the book is a really important opportunity, a really valuable opportunity for them to press the reset button and be like, this is who we are. We are, you know, X, Y, Z, whatever they want to be.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like this book is just kind of drop out of nowhere and like it's going to be like a Beyonce album where it's just like hits the bookshelves before we even know what's coming? Because like you said, we don't know when it's going to be released. There's no holding page on Amazon. Like there's really no information about this, and it just keeps getting delayed and delayed.
I know. Well, everybody thinks it's going to be, you know, mid-October on whatever it's called, Super Tuesday or Super Thursday or whatever it's called, when all the books come out. And that would obviously commercially make the most sense. But to be honest, Harry can publish his book whenever he wants, and it's going to go to the top of the bestseller lists. The thing I find slightly curious is like, how are they going to deal with the serialization? Because, you know, who's going to buy the rights to have the exclusive serialization? Is it going to be the Times? Is it going to be the, you know, what magazines are going to buy it? Because often that's how you start to get a few leaks coming out, because obviously newspapers employ journalists and journalists talk to each other. Mm-hmm. But as of now, I mean, there is no hint that when it's coming out. So it wouldn't entirely surprise me if it just dropped overnight. Yeah, it wouldn't actually.
For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.